Magic Mike.
Got all the Okay.
Splendid from all the stripping.
Oh my god, this is such horrible lighting.
No, we're good.
Okay. We actually saw Magic Mike this time, and it wasn't sold out, but it was pretty packed. And on the way back to the car, there's this little old lady with a walker. It's like,
There's a little lady, I think like her husband was the only dude in that entire auditorium, and he was such a trooper.
who was that person next to us with like the Johnny Bravo hair?
Oh, dude, that was a dude, I think, too.
I couldn't tell if it was a dude or like a lady that just really liked Johnny Bravo hair.
Either or, but like...
I didn't want to stare. I'm like...
Yeah, predominantly women, let's say. But, what did you think?
It wasn't a good story. It wasn't fleshed out well. I want to get the McConaughey cut with just Matthew McConaughey parts because his stuff was golden. Channing Tatum. Oh, Channing fucking Tatum.
Can I say real quick?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Of course you did.
No, okay, well, what I liked
You
about
were
this
laughing
movie,
at that one
before
preview too.
I wanted to interject just before we get into like the bits and pieces of the movie, is that like as a whole, this was a pandering ass movie, but I thought it was like the right kind of pandering. You know, it like what I was concerned about, like looking at the previews for, was that it was going to be, you know, a story about strippers. It's all like la 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 and like Notebook pandering to women, but this was like pig pandering. It was basically an entire auditorium.
It has a teacup pig, and you're in love
full
with
of
teacup
perverts,
pigs.
just chock full of perverts of all walks and ages, and just gathering in a theater to watch Channing Tatum hump an invisible woman.
Yes. And if you like titties, there's plenty of titties. And
There's
if you
plenty
like
of titties, and
male
you know,
ass, there's plenty of that.
I was complaining about there's no cock, but technically speaking, there is cock in this movie.
penis pump,
because
like, through the
there's like this one
side.
scene where they're having this conversation, and Alcide, I don't know what his actual name is, but he's Alcide on True Blood, is just like it's just
God.
pumping away, and it's just like bloop up into frame. It's and it was a silly movie. It did get dark at times, which surprised me.
It did, and yeah, Channing Tatum, he didn't do as bad. It seems, I don't know, since 21 Jump Street, I haven't seen a whole lot of movies with him. He's getting less meathead-ish. However, he's cast in a way to where the character isn't necessarily fleshed out to the point where, you know, he needs to be there. Because his character, he had his moments, he had his as much depth as they went into anybody. There were a few cute moments, but my God, the one scene in particular where I was like, oh, Channing fucking Tatum. He's arguing with the
sister,
not his sister. We haven't even gotten into anything yet, but there's this part he's arguing with the
love
lead.
interest.
Yeah, the love interest. And he's talking about how he's gonna get out of the business and he's gonna work on, you know, getting his own furniture business because he wants to make original furniture. And it's one of those flustered conversations, but it seriously looks like they just didn't cut, and he's messing up so many times. He could not form a cohesive sentence.
Yeah, because I thought, how about just kind of stammering up. You know, at one point in the movie, he calls the sister the brother, and he's like, oh, I don't know, I mean the sister, and you kind of got the impression that maybe it was in the script, and maybe he just fucked it up and they left it in. But yeah. I thought in this movie he was playing a moron. Like, that was the impression I got. So those bits,
that's what I'm saying. He's good at playing that kind of character.
Yeah.
So if he's cast as not necessarily a meathead, but just not the brightest crayon in the box,
no,
then he does well. But to me, he seemed like the side character in his own starring movie. It seemed to be more about the brother and sister.
Well, I kind of like that.
But I'm just saying that's odd to be like, Channing Tatum, and it's starring him, and it opens with Matthew McConaughey telling the rules about the strip club, which is just gold, and I was like, yes, thank you. And he's going through, and it's the lawbreaker scene that they show in the previews, and he's like, can you touch this? And he's grabbing his ass, and the girl's like, wait. He's like, nah, you can't touch that. And then he's grabbing himself, he's like, can't touch that.
Law says you can't touch that, but I don't see any police officers. And there's a lot of lawbreakers in the audience tonight.
But yeah, he stole every scene he was in, even when he was in the background in the party scenes.
And he does strip in this movie, because we didn't think he was going to strip, but he's stripped down to the weirdest fucking thong I've ever seen. It had like tassels coming down off of the taint of it, I guess you could say. I don't know what they were going for, but it was definitely swingy.
Well, his whole shtick, what was it, like Dallas Big Cock something?
Yeah, well, because like most of the people in this movie played morons. So he was just kind of like not the brightest tool.
He was eccentric.
Strip club owner. and he was kind of like a snake tamer or something. Like he wore like all like snakeskin stuff and talking about like making it big.
Yeah, he was just like the typical friendly, but shit will get real if you know, fuck up type owner, where it's like, yay, we're friends, you're the boss, but you fuck up, and he's terrifying. But yeah, he was just very eccentric. He's got pictures of himself painting like a big sculpture of his bust. You know, paintings with him like with a fucking snake coiled around his. You know, just very full of himself. And
he stole every scene he was in.
One of my favorites. What I like, and I mean, I haven't ever been to like the I guess they have more so in Vegas, like the male, where it's more of a dance than just strip thing.
Yeah, it was very like almost break dancey, and but then every once in a while they'd like grab a lady and like heft her up onto themselves.
Yeah,
and,
so
like,
many things that I know you cannot
prop.
do those. Yeah, basically like what they did in Showgirls, where you would not be able to do that because of liabilities. But yeah, it had a dance element to it, to where they had, you know, the pop and locking. It was more so entertainment, and then it got into the stripping.
Yeah.
Which I like, so you think you can dance. So I enjoyed those parts, and then otherwise I'm just like, you're dry. No, the dancing parts. I'm not into like dudes dry humping air or girls.
The invisible lady, you have to like, it's the lady that's not there. You picture the lady, and then it makes sense.
This movie did provide one of my favorite quotes now.
What's that?
How pregnant did you get her mouth?
See, that's another thing I like about this movie, because it had really good comedic aspects of it. Like Channing Tatum, on people get down on him, but I thought his comedic timing in this was really good.
He is. If you've seen 21 Jump Street, he's got great comedic timing. But again, it's so hard to explain. I'm sorry. It's the depth that his character is. Like, he's got good comedic timing, but at the same time, there's just certain roles that he would not be able to play. Like, he did okay in this, but it wasn't necessarily good. There were moments where it was like, oh, that was cute, you know?
Yeah.
But other things were just, no, they could have put anybody in there and they would have done better.
Well, the thing is that this isn't the kind of movie that's going to make you think. It's definitely a spectacle, and it's definitely geared towards women. But I'm coming back to my original point, which is I think that it's geared towards women in a more sexually equal way than movies that pander to women usually are.
It seemed to have more tits than like,
well, like
guys,
the tits,
like guy service instead of girl service.
The tits did make sense, and so because like there was two kinds of women in this movie. You know, there were the weird, like that Nora character that was just kind of like drugged to her gills, and yeah, she had a teacup pig, which was adorable, and like that drug dealer's wife who just kind of had her tits out just cause. But you know, there were those kind of women, and then there were the sexual aggressor women, and that's what she was. And so she wasn't just showing her tits in like a submissive, you know, these are here on the off chance you want to grab them sort of way, but just because she was walking out of the shower and just didn't feel like putting a shirt on.
I wasn't talking about that though. I just meant in the opening scene after Matthew McConaughey's thing, you've got, you know, Tatum ass, and then, you know, you've got you know, the scene where she gets out of the shower or whatever, and she's putting on pants, and they're having a conversation, and her tits are out, and then you go to the bed, and then it's a girl ass. So it's very.
And I think that she
hold on.
The girl ass in the bed, which was kind of a funny scene, because it's like, you know, they're having this conversation that turns out, oh, and there was also another woman involved in the nighttime shenanigans.
No, but McConaughey, like, they had different shtick. Like, everybody, they had group numbers and then single numbers. And there's one scene for the 4th of July where it's all of the army men, or the strippers up as army men, and then in the middle between, like, everybody at the back, McConaughey's got the big fuck off Uncle Sam hat.
Terrifying Uncle Sam.
Yes! Oh, it was brilliant.
Fucking stone face in the middle of, like, these writhing men.
I told Sarah, I was like, I really want to get a picture of that. And she's like, and I reached in, she's like, and I was like, oh.
I need to see how it ends.
I know. But no, was it horrible? No. Was it good? No. If you love Matthew McConaughey like I do, and I know Sarah does, go see it, because he is phenomenal. Tatum isn't horrible, but it's not like you're gonna leave being like, he did a really good job. Which, I mean, like, not to specifically hate on him, he did a great job in 21 Jump Street. Just this movie, at parts, you know, with the timing, it was good. Certain lines here and there, but anything that was the least bit emotional driven, like with the scene where he's trying to say how he's gonna quit, just fell completely flat.
Well, I'll agree with you there, because like we haven't even mentioned the brother, who's like supposed to be the main character of this movie. Like
He's not
like,
supposed to be, but he comes
yeah,
off.
he comes
like
off
it.
because like the way the plot of this movie goes is that, you know, there's this sister and brother, and the brother's kind of a layabout, and he's like getting construction jobs and stuff, and he just kind of falls into this male stripper position with Magic Mike, who's played by Channing Tatum, and the brother is kind of like slowly but surely like degenerating and getting to like the drugs and the creepy scenes, and Magic Mike is meanwhile kind of pulling himself out because, you know, romance with the sister. It's a pretty trite plot as plots go. But
It
I mean,
wasn't
like,
even about that at first, though. Like, the romance was just kind of thrown in there because he's
I
seeing...
disagree. I think that they had pretty good chemistry, and I was kind of rooting for him.
Well, the thing is, with the brother and sister, it was really creepy because the opening scene with the brother and sister, they had the kind of chemistry where it seriously looked like boyfriend-girlfriend. The way they were... The eyes, yes. If you looked at, like, the eyes, and... Of course, they're both good-looking, and he's doing the little, like, cheesy guy thing, and it was just very not brother-sisterly the way the back and forth was going. It was almost flirtatious, in my opinion.
Well, the part that I felt was not so brother-sister is at the end of the movie, which can I run... Okay, spoiler alert.
We never do spoilers.
Yeah, never spoilers. So Magic Mike and love interest get together, big surprise. Meanwhile, the brother is keeping on degenerating into drugs. They're just like, okay, well, fuck that guy. Let's go have a romance. And so presumably the ending of the movie is, and then the brother died of drug overdoses. The end.
Well, okay, because the thing of it is what I was saying about the romance thing, it was kind of thrown in there at the end because he's got this thing going with Olivia Munn, who you see at the beginning. It turns out she's got a fiance, and he was like, you're fucking kidding, right? And he didn't know and had
She's
this
like,
thing.
So bye.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden, it's like this romance with the sister, which they always kind of had like a back and forth, but
Yeah,
it
they
was...
kind of backburned it, but they still imply, because like there was the part where he wanted to hang out with her, and she's like, "Now you're a stripper, that's gross." And so you know, he called up Olivia Munn and was all like, "Hey, let's hang out," and tried having a conversation with her, and she's like, "Dude, that's not how we work." Because you know, they kept kind of not implying, like kind of referencing it throughout the movie. So I don't think it felt tacked on. Again, this isn't a movie to make you think, and it's a plot you've seen a billion times before, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I don't know if it's because it was good or because I had such low expectations of it, but that's where it is.
Well, I'm just saying that I felt it was rushed in because even throughout all of the parties and everything, he's calling this Joanna character, which is the girl he's with at the beginning, and it's not until he finds out that, because he's still calling her, and he's not really... It's kind of like the flirtatious thing with the sister, but not really. And then, you know, once she's out of the picture, he's trying to go at the sister, and then shit goes down with the brother. They try and just throw in real quick this, you know, oh, I lost a shit ton of drugs, and they go to strip at this sorority party, and the dumbass little brother slips one of the girls ecstasy, and then the bros...
I don't even know why the fuck he did that, because he just gave it to her for free.
Because he's stupid and he's 19.
Everyone in this movie is a moron.
Yes. But anyway, so he slips her some ecstasy, and then the bros find out, and they start beating him with beer bottles. He's like, wait, man, my pack was there, and there was like a shit ton of pills. So then they start tearing up Tatum's place, and...
we should mention that the drug dealer was Gabriel Iglesias.
Oh, okay,
He's like,
yeah.
he's a comedian.
No, I know, I just
Okay.
didn't...
Yeah, no, he was
yeah.
pretty terrifying in parts. I was surprised, because it felt like they weren't using him comedically that much, but then, you know, he kind of brought the intensity. I'm talking about maybe it's just because I'm a perv, and there was an awful lot of naked lady humping in this movie that was pulled off really well, but I feel the need to stick up for it because it was not nearly as bad as I expected it to be.
I'm not saying it's bad, I just completely forgot what I was saying there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I don't know.
But you were mentioning earlier that a lot of the emotional scenes fell flat, and I was agreeing with you because there was that one scene where he like was overdosed in Magic Mike's loft area and was just like laying on the floor just covered in vomit, and what should have been heartbreaking was mitigated by the fact that there was like this fucking teacup pig just on him, just like eating the vomit.
Yeah.
And it was the cutest, grossest thing I've ever seen, because that pig kept showing up for no reason.
Yeah, it was just kind of in the background doing stuff while the sister is screaming, just
She's
like, wake up, and
get up,
slapping
and the
him.
pig's
And,
like,
Mike's like, he's fine, it's okay, he's fine. And she's like, no, he's not fine. And
It's
so,
like she cares so much there, and then they're like, man, he'll do what he's doing.
but yeah, what I was saying with the drug thing, basically what happens is Magic Mike has to spend all of this money he's been saving for 6 years, which as a stripper and what they've been pulling in, I don't understand how it was only $13,000 for 6 years when he's got 4 other businesses going, but aside from that, he gives basically all of his money that he's saving for his business to get out of the business, to cover the kid's drug deal loss, and then it just kind of all gets thrown together. It's like, all right, we got like 10 minutes left, let's, do this. And so in a matter of really quick time, you've got Tatum's apartment being torn up looking for the kid and pills, him paying off the drug dealers, and then the sister saying that, he doesn't live there anymore, and then Tatum saying that he's going to quit the business. She's like, yeah, right. So then at the end, what you're supposed to pull from it is it's got Magic Mike looking around, and you've got Matthew McConaughey who did his full routine, and he's all, yeah, it's great to be back. And essentially he's looking at all of these people being like, okay, I'm really never gonna leave. He's looking at the guy that's been there forever and a half. And so he decides to leave, and then Matthew McConaughey embraces the kid, the brother, as like, all right,
now you are the man.
Yeah. And so it's just kind of that, and then he goes back to the sister. It was just very, it was like we tried to have this important plot element, and everything seemed very rushed. It had good, little comedic parts, the interchanges, which, Tatum and Alex Pettyfer, the two leads, the brother and Magic Mike, apparently really didn't get along on set, but you can't tell that at all in the movie, so that was
I'd
really
forgotten
good.
that you told me that.
Yeah, and apparently this movie is loosely based on oh god, I'm so tired.
Channing Tatum.
Thank you, I got tongue-tied. Yes, his experiences as a male entertainer.
Which I remember you telling me that earlier, and so as I was watching the movie, I was kind of wondering if he was supposed to be Magic Mike or if he was supposed to be the brother.
Well, he got out of it, so...
That's true. Well, I'm just assuming if the brother died of an overdose. Maybe he got okay and went on to a storied career in Hollywood.
Well, and the thing of it is, it's kind of sad. I mean, the way Matthew McConaughey, as much as you love him, he is this dirty ass, get the money from their purses, and kind of look at it that way where, it's a good time business, but then shit gets real. And so it kind of, I get what they were trying to convey, but it wasn't done well, is that, Mike had pulled in this innocent 19-year-old who was just trying to get a job, and then he just deteriorated and basically took his place when he had been working for 6 years to get out of the business, and so it was kind of like the little, the switcheroo.
The changing of the guards, I guess.
Yeah, and so it was just kind of weird because the touching moment, or just, I don't know what they were going for, whether it was supposed to be touching or just, having a revelation, but he's talking to the kid after he pays off his drug money, and the kid's like, oh, I'm gonna pay you back, man, and thank you so much, I can fuck whoever I want, I'm living the life. And Tatum's just kind of like, yeah, and you can tell that it's supposed to be one of those, yeah, right, I've been where you are, you're not getting out of it.
That scene followed directly after he had gone to the sister and been like, what exactly is your problem with me? And the sister's like, well, it's because this is horrible, and you're going to Miami, it's just gonna be more of the same. And Magic Mike's like, no, it's not. And then when he sat down with the brother, and the brother started going on about how awesome it's gonna be in Miami, he's like, oh, she was probably right about that.
But that's the thing, it's like they have this bromance through the whole thing, to where they're besties.
There's one point where they jump off a bridge for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that they can take the shirts off. And when they get into the water, they come up, and the one...
Ooh, hold on.
The brother's like, I think we should be best friends. They're like, ha 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 ha. And they just start swimming off into the horizon.
What I'm saying is, they're supposed to have this bond, and they've been through all this stuff, and they're best friends, and he's watching his friend deteriorate, basically OD, get into drug dealing, and aside from dude, why are you getting into dealing drugs before, shit got real, he didn't really try and deter him or anything. And at the same time, if you're gonna go and bang the dude's sister, you really think it's gonna end there? So everything just felt kind of empty, aside from the funny bits here and
That's
there.
stripping for you.
You know what I mean?
I know. Well, no, because again, for me, the plot was kind of ancillary to the stripping and the dudes with no shirts on, and I think that the
If you're gonna try and have a plot that involved, though, fucking do it right. Don't try and have an intricate plot like that, though.
I didn't find it that intricate.
If you're trying to bring in fucking drug dealers,
it was kind of like a children's book versus a novel. You know, you got to kind of read it on its merits.
Well, that's fine, but if you're gonna have some kind of, you know, fan service movie or whatever, you don't want to go into things, that's fine, but don't. It's like they tried to start it and then didn't complete it. And just threw it together. So if you don't want to have something that is involved and, you know, it's just so half-assed to where it's almost pointless.
I didn't find it so. I mean, and that's one of the reasons I was pleasantly surprised is I found the writing pretty good. And, you know, we mentioned a couple comedy parts, and you're right, it is a fan service movie at its base, you know, so I wasn't expecting too much in the plot department, but what it did have, I found that it delivered. I mean...
Listen,
it's basically Showgirls for girls, and I find that interesting as far as.
I like Showgirls better than this.
Really?
Yeah.
I like this better than Showgirls.
I don't know. Like, maybe it's just because it was like a first time viewing or whatever. And Showgirls is awful. I'm not saying it's a great movie. I guess at least in Showgirls.
They didn't really have a heart, you know, in Showgirls. Whereas this one, there was a definite sense of camaraderie, and they seemed to be enjoying what they were doing. Whereas in Showgirls, it was like, I can't believe I'm doing it.
But in Showgirls, it has the line, "Everybody got AIDS and shit." And this one has how pregnant did you get her mouth?
The best line in Showgirls, it must feel weird not to have people coming on you all the time.
I don't know.
That is the best line in Showgirls.
But I do like this line of how pregnant did you get her mouth?
See, that's the thing. It was just a throwaway line because they were just like walking up to the house and they're just bantering outside. So how pregnant did you get her mouth? Oh my god, like so pregnant.
Oh man, I got my mouth like so pregnant right now.
My mouth feels pregnant. Okay, so we should talk about the previews we got too.
I think we're beyond that.
No, because like they gave us like this weird thing with
fucking girly romance shit. Tommy Lee Jones and Meryl Streep. We want to get our magic and our marriage
something
back,
else, and then some fucking like gangster movie. And at first I'm like,
it's like Gangster Wars or something.
Yeah, at first I'm like, why are they showing this to us? You know, this is totally a chick flick. And then Gosling shows up. I'm like, that's the reason. Bitches love Gosling.
He's done like maybe, and I know I'm wrong on this, but he's done like one non-period piece.
Yeah, the memorable ones are the period pieces where he's like his little newsboy cap in his suspenders, and this one he's like shooting dudes and making out with Emma Stone, and it was
before they show them, it's all, you know, mobsters and things like that. Girl maybe 2 rows past to my left is like, why are they showing that? That's like a guy movie. Before Gosling showed up. And I'm like, are you kidding? I'd rather be fucking seeing that than fucking Magic Mike. Seriously, I felt dirty. And all of the cackling at the beginning and the women.
The women were hilarious because they were reacting so strongly to like everything that fucking happened. Like when they showed like that they had like another girl in the bed, the whole audience went, oh! And then they got into it. This was the right kind of pandering. That's my final thought. And it pandered to the pig women, not the Notebook women.
The what?
The pig women. The pervert women.
The teacup women? Oh, okay.
And also like, a literal pig.
Pig just 'cause yeah. All right. I'll take back my comment of Showgirls. I like Showgirls better. I think it was just, I don't know. It's not a horrible movie. I just don't like when movies try and get an intricate plot, but then don't follow through on it.
I will agree with you that they were overreaching, but for me, it didn't ruin.
It's like don't bring drug dealers into
it. Oh, they think they're people.
Yeah. All right, that's that.
Magic Mike.